In this video we're going to demonstrate how to use the 3D Solutions SymOpp tool. I'm starting in an empty CATIA shell here. I'm just going to go File, New, Product, and I'm actually going to create a product in which we're going to use to symmetry a full design. So I created my SymOpp product here. I'm going to put in a new part and we'll call that our mirror part. So now we have our product and our part. I'll save these off real quickly onto my desktop in the folder I'm using here. Alright, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, and in this product, and this is a product you'll want to save in case you have an engineering change and you need to update something. So I'm going to right click and go Components. We'll insert an existing component. I'm going to bring in my actual design. So I'll look in my cat products files here. Pull in my 3197A design product. I'll let this come in a second. And then what I'm going to do is I'll actually move it off from center just so you can see the symmetry process a little bit better. But there's no need to do that in your situation. You're just using the mirror plane to flip it about. So this will take just a second to come in here. Okay, now we have our die design in here. I'm just going to go to a top view here. Like I mentioned, I'll take and slide this off just so you can get a better visual of what we're doing. So we have our existing design and we want to make an opposite design for this. We're going to mirror it about this plane right here. So the first thing I'm going to do is launch my 3D Solutions toolbar here, and we'll select on our SymOpp tool. I happen to be in R20, so just make sure you have your version set properly there. When we fire this tool up, it comes up on a General Information tab. This gives you the information to pick the folder you're going to save to and the plane you're going to symmetry about. We also have naming information here, is where we can set and how we want to change the name as it mirrors the component. So in this particular case, we have a design that's 3197. If we look at any of the parts, they're 3197A and then the detail number that goes with it. In this situation, there's an example. I'm going to change from 3197 to 3198. Say that's our job number for our opposite hand. And then we'll repeat that down in the cat products. That first section is just for the cat parts. And I don't have any components in my tree structure, so I don't need to fill those out. But if I did, I would just do that. You also see this box here, suffix on error. That's going to give you an option that if the name doesn't contain a 3197, because we don't want to create a duplicate name component, it's going to add that suffix on the end of it so that it's different from the original that we symmetry. So I'll pop back here to the general information, select a folder to save to. I'm going to go into our SymOpp 3198 design. This can be wherever you have it on your directory. You just pick the path you want to save the files to. I'm going to select the symmetry plane from our mirror part that we added in. And then I have an option here. It says copy, tap hole, and drill hole removes after symmetry. If you're doing individual parts in a die and you want to have the removes come across with it so that you can use them later to do your removes, then you'd want to check that option. Since we're mirroring an entire design, the removes are already done, so there's no need to do that. Then what we'll do is we're going to say we want to select the part or product to symmetry, and we'll pick our whole design. If we have items that we want to just be reference, in other words like a trio where you can't symmetry it, we can select this button here and pick those individual items, and then when it does the symmetry of them, it's actually going to turn those red and name them in a way that you know that it's only a reference item, so it will say for reference only on them. That's nice because you can get positioning for components that can't be symmetried. You can still get the symmetry there and snap your component over to line it up for punch retainers and things of that nature. This situation, we're just going to select the part or product to symmetry, and we're going to pick out of the tree, or we can window it if we want to, but I like to just pick right here out of the tree the whole design. And what this is going to do is it's going to activate a CATIA symmetry command, and it's going to go through and select all the blocks here and do an actual symmetry on them, and you'll see the result of that here in just a second. So you can see here now it's pulled up the assembly symmetry wizard tool, You can see all the components at Symmetry, and you have all your options here of what you want to bring across. The defaults are typically what you want to stay with. You can keep link in position and keep link with geometry if you want to be able to have future updates. If you wanted to isolate it at this time, you could uncheck those boxes. However, I'd recommend still keeping those. And what we're going to do is just hit finish here. That's going to complete the Symmetry process. You'll see down here it's running through its steps. Once that process is complete, then we're going to take a quick peek at the assembly and look it over a little bit. And then we'll select the rename an attribute to actually change all the properties and get all the parameters and properties over for bill of material creation. This should just be finishing up there. Depending on the size of your assembly too, it's good to know that it could take anywhere from 3 to 5, maybe even 10 minutes to complete that Symmetry command, depending on the size of the assembly you're in and the type of hardware you're running it on. So if it seems like it's taking a while, just be patient and let it run its course. It should get through it. So this is showing that our assembly finished. I'm just going to hit close here. And you can see now we have our opposite hand design. If I look down here in the tree, it's all labeled Symmetry of. Both the product files and when I get down into the part files, they're named that way. Now, as you remember, what we did is we went in and we set our naming information up to replace anything that says 3197 with a 3198. So if we go ahead and we hit rename an attribute here, we can watch right in the tree here as this starts to change. We'll pop open a couple of these assemblies so you can see some of that. There. Kind of see it run from the top to the bottom here. So we'll hit rename an attribute, let this run its course. And again, depending on the size of the assembly you're working in, you have a variation in the amount of time it takes, but you can see it goes pretty quickly through the components here. Once it finishes renaming and attributing the cat parts, it will go back and rename and attribute the assemblies as well. And then we'll take a look at what our result is at the end of that. And now that took about 2 minutes to run through on this with 142 components. I paused the recording there briefly, and you can see when it finishes up, it's going to tell you the Symmetry and rename and reattribute process is complete. We hit OK here, and we'll take a look. It's going to ask you to save all because it wants you to save everything now that you've renamed it all. So we'll go ahead and let it do a save. But you can see over here in the tree, any of the assemblies that didn't have the job number in it, it added that suffix on error, the -RH. Any of the details, it did change them from 3197 to 3198 through here. Once our form pops back up here, we can exit out of this. And then if we want to take a look at just our new design, we can go and open that in a new window. So we're looking at just our newly created right-hand design of that. So here's all our components, and if we wanted to stock list this design, you can see when we check our properties, you have all the information here, your detail numbers, your callouts, any information that was in the properties and attributes of the original are now transferred into this, so it's very easy to take it and now use it for machining, things of that nature. You'll have good accurate attributes to work from on that. And that's basically it. Now, one thing to keep in mind, we have this new assembly here and everything's renamed and everything's set with it. It is, however, still linked in the original one via the feature of the assembly Symmetry here. So if at any time you want to update this, you can't just open the design. It's not going to pick up an update if you change something in the original. You would need to open back up your SymOpp product, and that's why we save this product, and do an update here, and then open your design and you would see the changes reflected. Reason being is it needs to come back to this assembly constraint to update the mirror again. So you want to be aware of that's available to you, and if it's something where you want to sever the links and you don't want to have that ability to do that, just don't reopen this product, or you can remove this product. But once it's gone, you got to remember it's gone for good, and you'd have to rerun the Symmetry tool on it. In your SymOpp design now, if you have some different components and things like that you need to remove or move, you do have the ability to now do that. You can take these out and delete them individually if you need to, and they're not going to reappear unless you go back into your SymOpp product and update this assembly feature again. So that's the instructional video on how to flip an entire design there. And if you need anything else, let me know.